Hi, everybody, and welcome back to FreakSense TV. I am your host, Charlie Freak, and ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very special podcast for you today. Santos is currently in Miami, Florida, on his extended tour of America and the Americas, and I reached out to Santos because of a deep meditation that I had and what came to me through the meditation. And I asked Santos if he could somehow fit me in his very busy schedule so that we could do this most profound of shows on this very, very important sacred topic. And as a tribute to Santos's true character, he put aside his very busy schedule to fit me in for this podcast today. So deep, deep thanks to this master of the Gnostics, of the Essenes, this leader of our truth that synchronizes everything together into the one understanding of all things. So thank you so much, Santos. So very quickly, folks, here's what happened. This has all come about because of Santos's teachings to Colleen and I about the process of sacred sex, and this is the importance of not spilling our seed, of harnessing an internal orgasm, so that you are the master of your fate. You are the master of your circumstances by controlling this enormous force, what is called or known as the spasm, so that the spasm does not control you for 3 seconds of light where the bing, the bell goes off up in the crown chakra or the third eye chakra. For 3 seconds, and then you fall back down to hell upon earth. Rather, you control the spasm and you harness this force of forces, this power of powers, this enormity that is known as the human orgasm, and you control it and you store it. And this all comes back to Santos's teachings of the creditor and the debtor. And folks, this is an allegory, of course, but what it relates to is us human beings as alchemical beings. And we must lead and live the alchemical life. And this is what is called doing the work and putting oil in your lamp. This is the sacred work that we must do, keeping our bodies and our minds, our thoughts perfectly alkaline, turning away from acidity in all moments, physically and metaphysically, and then performing these sacred tasks, these sacred rituals, which includes our most profound experience, the sacred unity consciousness or white tantric sex with your eternal partner, and raising yourself and getting yourself free. And as Santos said, changing from the body of our experience, Jesus Christ, into the spirit of our experience, which is Christ Jesus. And this is, again, the metaphor that Santos uses of Jesus Christ teaching the disciples to walk on the Admiralty Law waters, to rise above this false world that we are controlled with by ascending yourself. And this is the work that we must do. So in this deep meditation, what came to me was this profound understanding of the work that Colleen and I are doing with our sacred unity consciousness of sex, where each of us are deeply in the moment with each other. Our eyes are wide open and affixed upon one another, deeply in love, deeply in appreciation for one another and for the Creator. And what we are doing, as Santos teaches, is that as we feel the orgasm approaching, it is then that through our deep intention and focus that we are controlling the orgasm, the spasm, so that it does not reach a full spasm and we do not experience this outward ejaculation of our essence, which is our semen. And when Santos teaches this, what he talks about is that he has the ability to continue the lovemaking process, to continue this white tantric sex for a long period of time, all night if necessary. So what I can now attest to through this process is exactly that. When you do not spill your seed and when you control the spasm, you're still feeling this incredible feeling. It's just that it's different. It's different because you are in control of it. It is not controlling you. And so what happens is that, and because you're so deeply in love with your partner, is that if the will is there for both partners, you can just go on and on and on and on. And I'm literally not kidding. What we're finding is that there's literally no end to what we can experience or the length. It's just completely up to you and your beautiful partner. So isn't this what you want versus what you're experiencing? And then the guilt and the shame and the feeling of wanting to be alone and depression that comes afterwards from spilling your seed, or this deep connection and this continual feeling of ascension and enlightenment. Wow. So during this most recent of meditations, it all simply revealed itself to me. This is not me thinking. I don't, as often as I can, I don't think at all. I simply allow what the Creator wants for me to present itself, and I happily interact and experience what is provided. And so during this deep meditation, what came to me was this complete decoding of the false, the lie, the myth of atomic power and these subatomic particles that are so tiny that you can't see them, but nudge, nudge, wink, wink. They're there. Trust us. Just trust us. They're there. And the power that comes from the splitting of the atom is capable of destroying the world. What a load of shit that is. Like God would create all of this so that a couple of lunatic scientists could destroy everything in one vulnerable moment. What a complete load of shit that is. So there are no subatomic particles. As Santos teaches, we have atoms, and atoms are points of light. So therefore you can see an atom, and the atom, atum, is all that there is. It is the manifestation of the physical world, which we call the Maya, because we think is physical, but truly it is atomic. It is atoms, and atoms are points of light. And that's what we see, and that is what the ancients and through the Sanskrit language teaching of the Maya is that what we think is physical actually isn't as physical as we've been taught to believe it is. And the reason, of course, they do that is to make a mockery of the metaphysical, which everything is, which we are, which is our essence. So it is this misunderstanding, misteaching, misinterpretation of what atoms are, of what Santos teaches. So what you then begin to see, everyone, is that when you look at their story, when you look at their narrative about atomic power, there are two realities. One, you have atomic or nuclear power plants where everything is done right, where this splitting of this enormous power, the most awesome power that exists, is done within a safe building, within a safe reactor. And it provides quiet, clean, eternal energy. And the cycle is created and it just manifests itself eternally, and it's clean and quiet and beautiful. That is the allegory for our sacred sex done right and the keeping of our sacred seed and the harnessing of the orgasm and the internal orgasm and our semen within. Then they have the other half of the atomic story, which is that it can be split, and then the process just continues, splitting, and producing more cells that split, and it runs out of control and eventually leads to the explosion of explosions that could potentially destroy the Earth, and that is the atomic or nuclear bomb. And thanks to our mutual great friend Josh X, bomb, B-O-M-B, B is 2, so at the beginning and the end you have 2 and 2, 22, which is a master number, and a double 11, which is an extremely powerful, the most powerful of numbers. And in between the two B's of bomb is Om, which of course is our life force, which is our life essence. So in the word bomb itself, they're also encoding for you this incredible sacred power of the nuclear or atomic bomb, which is the human orgasm when it's done right. And when it's not done right, it's a bomb. And the bomb, which can destroy worlds, is out there. It is a metaphor, folks, for spilling your seed, for releasing your essence, your semen out there, turning the most beautiful alkaline process that heals your chakras, your energy, wheels of energy and light within you, all the way up into the third eye chakra to illuminate your crown chakra. Instead of doing that, you spill it and it becomes the most acidic, and you defile your mate instead of raise her as the sacred being that she is. And you spill your essence and you lose all of the alkalinity and the alchemy of your existence and eternal form, and you're wasted away. And you, in that moment, take yourself away from your true self, and you begin the process of death. As Santos explained in our first show, he knew the first time that his son had masturbated and had an external ejaculation because he could see it in his face and his features. And this is the great fall. This is the great lie. And this is what they teach us, and this is what they shove in our face everywhere all the time. This nuclear myth, this nuclear lie, to teach us to spill our seed, to commit fornication instead of sacred sex, and live forever. So that's why I've asked Santos to come on and take this meditation, this discovery that I've had, and to complete it for us and to give us the lesson of all lessons and this sacred teaching. So Santos, sorry for that lengthy introduction, and welcome to the show, my dear friend. And the floor is yours to lead us to above and beyond.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. That was very good. Your introduction, very to the point and correct. Everything there was correct.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah. So the difference is, do we explode or do we implode our energy? Schallberger taught a lot about the implosion part of the wave and how that is superior to the explosion, and that men and their pseudoscience only deal with explosions and ripping things apart and tearing quote-unquote atoms apart, etc. So it's very, very destructive. The implosion energy is the salvific energy because it contains the energy, brings it back to source to recycle it again. So the same is with the orgasm. OR comes from the Latin root for gold, ordo, and time, order. So golden light is akin to white light. It's magnetic. And that's why the sperm is white. It is full of light, and God is light. And so in the scriptures talking about tithing and giving a 10th part to God means just returning those oils, those sacred fluids, that light. And since our purpose here is to create a light body, why would we want to discharge our light just for a few fleeting seconds of pleasure? Whereas we can practice correct sex and have sustained pleasure continuously. In fact, when you begin practicing white tantra, what you're doing is actually you're putting money in the piggy bank.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next day, rather than being depressed and wanting to fight with your partner and all the havoc and depression and depletion that you feel, the emptiness, what happens is, on the other hand, you wake up with strong sexual energy, which you are still in control of. And so this is bliss. The other kind, the explosion, that's pleasure. And the other side of pleasure is pain. Every time you explode your light and give it away and sacrifice and crucify the Christ, that's what it means. When you repeatedly crucify the Christ, that means you are having ejaculations, because that is Christ.
Wow.
And the scripture says, do not be crucifying the Christ. And the chrism is the name of the sperm. And the chrism is what gives you charisma. So when you lose your charisma by ejaculating, the next day you have to start again. You're now addicted to that pleasure and pain vicious cycle which you cannot escape. It is impossible to escape. And so you have to go looking for more intense sensations. So you're looking for different kind of sex. Now you want to do this kind and that kind. And this is why people are engaging in multiple partner, polyamorous, promiscuous, pornographic types of sex. And it doesn't satisfy them anyway, but they keep looking for it. It's an addiction. Whereas the other kind, you don't. And what happens is the more you implode that orgasm and you keep your fluids, more the next day you have this bliss. And it's like you're just walking around actually experiencing the same feeling as you would when you are intimate and having sex, just that you're not. And you can only get this through proper sex. So you'll find that the hermits and, well, not necessarily the hermits, but the people who practice this and who are on the path, you find that they're always smiling and they're always centered and blissful and happy, content. And that's because they are retaining their light, their luminous body. You see, so people who squander this are committing sacrilegious blasphemy, and there's no forgiveness for it. If you know that you shouldn't and you continue to do it, there is no forgiveness. And what that means is, no forgiveness means you will be coming back to this plane to experience those sensations.
Yep.
You haven't sublimated your sense nature, your sensual nature. The one who sublimates the sensual nature can still engage in sex, still eat, still do all the activities that the other individuals do, only they're correcting it. They have the right inversion. And so what they do now is they are sublimating their practice. And the rewards are untold. They're limitless. There's no end to what you can do and the magic that comes to you by this correct practice. Peace. Peace which you can never find by meditating or any other way, but by see, people who go meditating, they think they can meditate and fix everything, but then go off and ejaculate when they're having sex. Well, they've just destroyed all their meditation and yoga in one fell blow. It has to be the complete package of practices. So meditation goes with white tantra, goes with yoga, goes with healthful diet, etc. The list goes on. You can't take one piece of the jigsaw puzzle out. Once you do, you don't have a picture. What you have is a picture with a hole in it. And a hole is the opposite of holy. You see, all the stars and all the sun and the moon, they are not necessarily physical objects as we know physicality. They are holy holes, wormholes in the skies. We all know that we come from stars. We are stardust, you see. We have youngsters, sisters, spinsters, masters, monsters, gangsters, fraudsters, rock stars, superstars, but we're all stars. And we know that because that's why we call each other. Whether we call someone a monster or a master, doesn't matter. We're all stars. So to get back to those wormholes and to go back to unconditioned, unlimited, unqualified self, cause, this is the practice by saving that light. That light is given to us in measure. The yogis teach that we have a certain amount of breaths given to us by the amount of soul force that we incarnate with. So let's say you've been granted 6 billion breaths, right? And you are set to expire after you've breathed all those. Well, if you learn how to breathe correctly, rather than having 21,900 breaths a day, as all conventional common people do, the yogis learn how to slow down their breaths, so they're sitting on about, 6,000 breaths a day. That's about a third. So they've already increased 2/3. So we know this. All the yogis, all the schools teach this. What usually is omitted is the fact that we have a certain amount of prism as well. George Carey explains this in his book, God-Man, the Word Made Flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And there he says that we have, according to our goodness and incarnation and soul force, we have a certain amount of cerebrospinal fluids, which are called prism, which produce the sperm and the seminal, all the fluids in the male and female. When they are consumed in riotous living, etc., then one expires. Just as the breaths have been allocated to us, a certain number of breaths, so has a certain amount of prism for each one of us. Yes, so what I was getting at is these machines can pick up your aura. Okay, so some people have top-end violet, pinkish auras, and some bottom-end red auras, and anything in between. Well, this is the thing. All of those colors, regardless of whether they are the violet top chakra, crown chakra, or the red bottom chakra, which is dealing with sex and everything like that, the gold one is the one we want. We need a gold aura. Gold is akin to white light. When white light refracts and splits, because it doesn't vibrate, red shift, blue shift occur immediately. Two spiraling energies. Red shift is right turning red shift energy. Blue shift is left turning blue shift energy. So and it's compressing, whereas red is radiating. So both of those ends are still within the material spectrum. Gold and white are the colors we need. We need a golden aura. You see, the scarlet chakra down the bottom, that's Scarlet the harlot. And the violet chakra, well, that's the vile nature of the human being, the violent nature. So any of those colors of the rainbow will always materialize us. Okay, so we're looking to have a white like an angel, or golden aura. See, once white light splits, or golden light, you get red shift, blue shift, but the third color is green, and it's in the heart. And so a green aura as well is akin to gold. Green, gold. Green is an anagram for energy. Same word. Green means energy, and it is gold. You remove the L, Elohim, from gold, you have God. So that's the color we're looking for, the golden aura, or orgasm. And the only way you'll get gold, you don't want scarlet the harlot or vile violet. You want gold, God, golden light. When you start emanating the golden light, this is why Jesus always has a golden halo. It's not blue, it's not red, it's always golden, because that's the God color.
And that is just incredible, because what you're describing, even at our most base root form, the atom, is that everything is attempting to achieve homeostasis. That's what you're saying. So if you're scarlet at one end or violet at the other, again, those are extremes. The goal, as the Buddha taught, is the middle way, that perfect white light and the golden aura. And so everything that you're saying is homeostasis. Wow.
You said the word goal. Well, that's it. It is the goal, to get golden light, which is God light. And so that's why you always kick a goal. You see, they're referring to this golden light. Nothing is better than gold. Remember, young star, if you listen to your teacher, you'll go home with a gold star. You don't want silver. At the Olympics, you don't want silver or bronze. You want gold, because that's the goal. And of course, that's what the orgasm, aura, is. And you increase your auric field by preserving these fluids, you see. So they do everything in this world to prevent you from achieving this. For instance, 8 days after you're born, they try to circumcise you. And what does that do? The little baby can't defend itself, but what happens is now he has no foreskin, and the most sensitive part of his body is now touching his nappies and hurting. And he's sitting there crying, but Mummy doesn't know what's going on. She thinks he's got a sore tummy, but he's trying to say, hey, I didn't want this. I was perfect when I came into the world. And the reason they do this is they know that they're going to make men hardened. You see, what they have now is, depending on the individual, by the way, and their soul evolution, some men it really destroys them. Other men it just, they deal with it. It's not going to be a problem for people listening to this audio. If you've been circumcised, don't sit there and go, oh no, it's all over. No, it's not. Depends on your soul evolution. You can overcome all things. But still, they circumcise men so that they can harden the most sensitive part of their bodies, where they can connect with their women in the most intimate and beautiful, sensual, sublimated way. Now the man, he's got like a hardened wart on the end of his member, and he's going to be thrusting around like a monkey and seeking the explosion orgasm, because he doesn't have the sensitivity to feel. What happens is the uncircumcised man will have much more sensitivity, so he will be more sensitive to the woman, because she's not been circumcised. She's already pure, and she has all her feminine sensitivities, where the man's hasn't. He is now polarized on the masculine side. So all they have to do is attack one of the genders and destroy them. The other thing is sodomy for little boys, pedophilia and sodomy in the seminaries. You see, these young boys, they're sent to seminaries so that they can learn what to do with their semen, to save it and how to save it. Whereas the priests there, they get these young boys, first thing they do is violate their scarlet chakra and turn them into harlots, male harlots, you see, little prostitute boys. And this harms them, not only the circumcision, but the raping. And so, of course, all of these things are overcomable depending on your soul evolution. If you don't have a lot of soul force, well, you won't be able to overcome it in this life. You just have to hope the next life that they don't get you when you're young and commit all these crimes against you. So we've got a lot going against us. I mean, I've just mentioned these because they are just two of the obvious ones, but there are other things. Indoctrination, the birth certificate name, the indoctrination at school, kindergarten, the bullying, the putting us into classrooms, making us bricks in the wall, thank you Pink Floyd, etc. We don't need this indoctrination, do we? We don't need all of this church propaganda and mind control teaching us, oh, masturbation is bad, you'll go to the devil. Well, no, it's not bad because God gave you that desire. You just have to know what to do with it. For instance, food can be bad if you're a glutton, but why should we say that eating is bad now? Oh, eating is bad because gluttons exist. So masturbation is bad because the ejaculation happens. Well, then just cut out the ejaculation. It's the most useful energy that has been given to us by the gods. Sexuality. The right-hand path is all about pure sex. The left-hand path is all about promiscuous sex. And the middle path, celibacy, I call stagnancy, because these monks are sitting there doing nothing with their semen. They haven't learned anything at the seminaries that they've gone to about how to go to the right-hand path and recycle that ore, gold, and generate a golden auric field, which is the only one that doesn't have holes in it, wormholes, where demons can get in and enable the parasites in our pre-existing parasites in all of our bodies to manipulate our minds, hearts, soul, and spirit. And that's how they do it, by us becoming too centered on any of the chakras, from scarlet the harlot to violet at the top. Anything in between except for the green heart chakra is unacceptable. If your aura is green or golden or white, that's all the colors. Remember, the third color to refract after red shift, blue shift is always green. There's your RGB colors. They are the three colors, the Trinity of God. And you see Osiris, St. Patrick, they're all green. The vegetation is green. Your heart chakra is green, which has 12 petals, because 12 is the complete number of spirituality and all cycles. So any one of those colors that you generate will restore you and ascend you. Through those colors, you will ascend to unconditionedness. You will ascend from the limitations of vice and greed and addictions. And you will sublimate your nature, and all of your powers will be restored. You can have magic. You can have power beyond your wildest imagination, but that will not be granted to you unless you are worthy. You have to do the good works. If you're on the left-hand path, you've already been unforgiven in this life anyway. If you knew the right-hand path and you've gone to the left, you will not be forgiven. There's nothing you can do to restore that in this life. So the next life, just be better prepared, because there are people recycling, reincarnating over and over again. And so hopefully all will be saved. It is my belief that they will, and it is also the belief of many that we can restore this, even though we've gone on the wrong path. There is, as it says in Stairway to Heaven, there's still time to change the road you're on, but it will not happen in this life if you have decided to leave the right-hand path. Samael Aung explains this in his book, The Perfect Matrimony. The perfect matrimony is what I practice. So he also says there that for some people, depending on their soul evolution, if they purify themselves for 1 year in absolute purity, they can begin possibly in this life to restore and ascend. But it's almost impossible, because what they used to teach in the seminaries, in all the Christian, Zoroastrian, Mithraic, Egyptian religions, etc., was that if one knows the true path and goes back to the left-hand path, cannot be forgiven. They will never be forgiven. It's impossible. So it's either two choices. They stay in their defilement and the debauchery, or they begin cleansing themselves in this lifetime, and hopefully in the next one they will escape from conditions, from the horrible conditions of pleasure and pain, vice and virtue.
That's so beautiful. And something that I wanted you to touch on is the turning to the right and following the path that is straight and narrow. Is that when you begin to change your life physically to an alchemical life, and when you're doing the good works of God, creating gold, creating aura and the auric field around you, you feel it. And it's as simple as this, folks. Like with regard to your food, if you begin to understand that food is life, that the process miracle of photosynthesis, which produces chlorophyll, is this miraculous process that nobody really understands. We know what's going on, but I mean, how this is miraculously being done by the plants is beyond us. But just taking the light from the sun, from God, and turning it into a fuel that can drive us eternally is just incredible. But when you take this raw, when you accept the gifts from God in their virgin, natural, pure, white, golden form, which is green, you feel it. And when you begin to practice your white tantric sex, when you have this unity consciousness occurrence between partners, you feel it. Again, the beauty of what Santos teaches is that it can be proven. These are not theories. You just have to do the work. And this is what Colleen and I have done. We have literally practiced these teachings and have applied them to our life. And believe me, if we can do it, anybody can do this. Anyone can. And the feeling of consuming freshly juiced fruits is unbelievable. You can feel it coursing through your veins. You can feel it coursing through your body. Your hair tingles, and you just feel great because it's delicious, and you know what you're doing is so right with nature. And it's the same thing with all aspects of this alchemical life and doing the good works and raising the chrysamol, raising the sacred oil within us, is that you feel it and you don't want to leave this. And that's what I wanted you to talk about is this generation, and it builds up. Like we also have read all of Samael Ayunweor's books and the Perfect Matrimony, and this is what he talks about, that essentially after a year of this perfect commitment to the right way, the right path, the white light, that the credit that is built up in your bank, which is inside your temple, which is inside of you, is so powerful that these feelings are not being lost. This is what Santos talks about, being so far down the path that is straight and narrow that you can't turn around. Even if you wanted to anymore, there's no turning around. There's just moving consistently towards the white light. And this is what I wanted you to talk about, is just the creation of these good vibrations within you that are tangible. You can feel them, and it is your currency. This is how you get through your day. This is what lifts you above the perils and the troubles of the left carnal world. When it attempts to try and come knocking, all you do is you make a withdrawal of all of these good energies, these good works and oils that you're returning to God within you, in your bank, in your safety deposit box within the temple. This is what you turn to, and you're because you're a creditor, you have more than enough currency to fix or to heal or to soothe or to make go away any and all problems or perceived problems of the left carnal world. This is the creditor versus the debtor. If you could just speak to that a little more, Santos.
My personal experience was I began this in 2012, and incrementally I have improved my health and everything like that. So if I didn't do that, I'd probably be dead. But the thing is, there are other things that need to be addressed. For instance, parasites. So even though I was practicing this, I still found that I was an angry man. You know, I had a lot of anger. And so people around me, family, friends, they would be watching me and they'd be saying, hey, dude, you know, your veganism, your tantric sex, it's not doing anything for you. You're still angry. You're still... So in mid this year, I did an animal deworming protocol where I smashed and destroyed all my parasites. Because, see, the parasites are enablers of demons, of demonic entities outside of you. They use them. They are antennas. They are the antennas. And so the system has made it so that we are all full of bad parasites by giving us thimerosal and mercury and formaldehyde in our vaccines, dental work, etc. This destroys the natural biology, the natural parasites, which don't do this, and give us an over sort of an oversupply, for want of a better word, of unnatural organisms, and they enable the demons. And they get through holes in our auras because, of course, we're not practicing white tantra.
Exactly.
So even though people were judging a fish by how well it climbs a tree, in my case, you know, because I had a parasitic infestation and had demons, you know, I'm quite frank about this, and I've been telling the world. I'm not hiding this at all. I know I had demons, you know. I can see by the way I behaved and all the trouble I got myself into. So don't just go thinking you're going to, you know, start practicing white tantra and everything's going to change and be wonderful. You have to do it, and it will help. But there are other things. For instance, in my case, I'm sharing very personal information here, and I'm not afraid to do so. I know it's going to, you know, cause people to think in certain ways, but I don't mind because I'm here to help others. I don't have an ego. I don't work through ego. I don't have anything of my own that I'm bringing to the table here. All my knowledge and understanding comes from books I've read and by studying and meditating and knowing the truth directly. You know, it's not mine from my logical brain, and here I am pontificating about how to do things. No, if I sound confident and perhaps, you know, arrogant at times, which people say I am, I don't mind. That's their business, what they think of me. I don't care. I teach the truth, you know, and I want people to benefit from the truth as I have. I mean, I'm 56, and if I didn't practice white tantra, I'd be dead. I see people in their 30s dying of heart attack, strokes, bowel cancer, in their 40s, wrinkly. I don't have any wrinkles. Okay, I've got grey hair. Well, that's because I was an ejaculator up until, you know, 2012, yeah, like everyone else, and a meat eater up until 2007, you know, and those are the worst acidic things you can practice and makes your hair go grey. But that's beside the point. I'm sharing personal things here because I want everyone to benefit. All the young men, all the old men, all the women, everyone. So my personal experience is very important in this because I've been judged badly as well. And like we all do, there's always a weak-minded one who stands there and just wants to throw stones and tell you how good you are not, because they are not and because they are deficient. So regardless of the obstacles we have, that I mentioned previously, regardless, we all have them. We've all been indoctrinated. We've all been eating meat and ejaculating, etc., etc. We can turn it around. And I would suggest to people to watch the video by the same writer, Samael Aoumayor, The Perfect Matrimony. The video is called Sex, the Secret Gate to Eden. And it's a 1 hour, 15 minute. I've been sharing this video since 2007 with everyone, because not only will you learn about White Tantra, but you will learn a lot about the body and how to ascend and transcend the basic human conditioned nature of vice, and to excel, to sublimate oneself and restore all their power and glory, etc. I want everyone to be glorious. I don't want to look around and see people that are going to depress me and bring me down. I don't get into that. I want to see people that I can look up to, people who are godlike and have great auras and inspire me. I want them to be surrounded by these people. That's why I do this work. Otherwise, I could be sitting at home meditating and twiddling my thumbs or playing my guitar. I don't have to be doing these shows. Sometimes I don't want to. In fact, I was tired this morning. I didn't sleep well. I don't have the pleasure to say, the luxury to say, let's cancel it and do another time, because I'm traveling and my tour schedule is hectic at the moment, and I don't get sleep. I've lost weight. So all of these things go against one. But don't let anyone judge you. Don't let anyone say, oh, yeah, well, you're a vegan and you don't look good, and you and your White Tantra, I'm happy. These are materialist thinkers. We are talking here in this show to a select audience, an audience that's ready for this information. This is not for everybody. It's no use sharing this with everybody. Only the ones who require it and are ready will find it. And the ones who resonate with it, and the ones who are going to do something with it, they'll go away and actually do something with it. They'll transform their lives. So not only in sexuality, but in food, in speech, everything needs to be transmuted and sublimated. The better words we use, the better our language, the more our thinking improves. The more our thinking improves, the more our language becomes more refined and superior, and our behavior and our actions and our being, because being is at the center of everything: doing, thinking, speaking, drinking, eating, etc., lovemaking. What is superior to all of this is being.
That's so beautiful, and it ties in so beautifully to the teachings of the Christos in the Bible, or Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. It goes on, and the Christos, Christ Jesus says in the Bible, you cannot put new wine into an old wineskin. And what Santos is referring to here, and is taught so well through all of his sacred work, is Santos was just saying that this isn't for everyone. This is for a select audience that is ready to hear this information. What we're talking about here is that you have to get your house in order. So because from the moment we're born, like Santos was saying earlier, that we have been inundated with toxins. We have. There's get over it. It is what it is, but it can be healed. But the reality is that wherever you find yourself, 30, 40, 56, both Santos and I are both 56. We were both born in 63. 6 and 3 is 9. When we have faulty wiring because we have been toxified our entire lives. So this is why all of this information is deeply encoded as well. This is why mysticism is taught through allegories, because it's so important that you understand the holistic message and the holistic understanding, so that you know to do the work in preparation for ascension. If you were to recklessly, like Reuben of the South, or of our fourfold human nature, if you were to recklessly attempt to take this information and transform yourself overnight, you'll burn the house down, because your wiring is faulty. It's not your fault. It is what it is. We need to just accept that. But our wiring is faulty, because from the moment we're born, we're attacked. And so now, this is everything that Christ Jesus is teaching within the Bible, is telling you this, that we need to overhaul our inner workings. That's why astrology is all about human physiology. That's why the Bible is all about human physiology. The Holy Land, every aspect to God's creation teaches human physiology, because this is the essential truth to everything. You must get your house in order. You must rewire so that you're ready for this awesome force to be released within you, for these awesome powers that each of us contain to be released and harnessed within us. You have to rebuild the temple. You have to rewire the circuitry within you. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And it's done through these good works. This is what Santos is talking about. So if you're listening to this and you feel detached, a little bit detached from all of this, it's only because you have holes in you. What did Santos say earlier? That whole is the opposite of holy. This is a perfect metaphor for our existence. We're full of holes like Swiss cheese, because we've been lied to. We know bits and pieces. And if I may be so bold, I don't want to go down this path, because I know you don't want to visit it, but it needs to be said. If you visit virtually any other truther, any other major so-called truth channel and truth teller with hundreds of thousands of subscribers and this worldwide speaking tours and all of this, they're not teaching this information. They don't teach anything that is holistic. And if it's not holistic, it isn't the truth. The truth isn't bits and pieces. It's not bite-sized snacks like a dish of pretzels. It is a holistic, completed inner standing, because it is complete, it is holistic. And these other truthers that you, and this is what Samael Aun Weor teaches and talks about. Santos has hinted at this before. You listen to Santos and you listen to his good works and you follow his good works and you begin to grow. You begin to see more of the light. But then somebody else in the truth community comes into your rearview mirror and you become intrigued and you become enamored and you listen to the first hour, because the second hour costs money, of some of these great truthers, and you listen to this stuff, and all they do is lead to more confusion. They're not interested in attempting to resolve anything. They're not interested in to create a complete holistic synthesis of what it is that they're speaking to. What they like to do is punch a hole in something and then leave you filled with holes. So at the end of the podcast, here's how you feel when you listen to these other truthers. And I'm talking 99% of everybody else in the truth movement. When you're finished listening to one of their podcasts, you go, wow, I'm more lost than where I was when I started. I'm more off-center than I was when I started. I'm more confused than I was started. But when you listen to when you read Samael Aun Weor, when you listen to the holistic syncretic teachings of Santos, you become centered, you become balanced, you feel better inside of you. And this is what I'm talking about, that once you start to do this process, you won't want to leave it. You won't want to go back. It's once you begin to juice and embrace juicing into your life, that's a form of how you're going to intake this miracle of photosynthesis inside of you. You're not going to stop. You're not going to stop because it's incredible and it makes you feel incredible. Once you practice this unity consciousness sex with your partner, and like Santos beautifully just had me floating earlier in the show, it doesn't go away. It's so later in the day, and you're doing the dishes together, that feeling, that orgasm is still surging and coursing between the two of you. It doesn't go away. You're not going to want to leave this once you start doing these good works. These good works are called good works for a reason, because they're godly. It makes you feel uplifted. It makes you feel right. It doesn't make you feel wrong. And that's what this process is all about. And again, when you look at this analogy that came to me through the meditation of the nuclear power plants, that is safely done from within. They can be placed in residential centers because they're quiet and they're clean and they produce eternal energy. This is a perfect metaphor for the alchemical life, for the retaining of the seed and doing the good works, rewiring your circuitry within you. And the nuclear bomb, the explosion out there that can destroy worlds, is the perfect metaphor for the left brain, the carnal world, and the physical realm of materialism, where we recklessly and greedily consume without thinking of the consequences. And then, like Santos says, you just chase and you chase and you chase the dragon. And you'll never, ever, ever, ever become Saint George and slay the dragon, because you'll never, ever, ever catch the dragon. You're just constantly chasing that next high, that next high. And the perfect high and the eternal high is within you. And another thing quickly that Santos was referring to earlier, using green as the balance, the middle point, the homeostasis between the violet blue shift above and the red shift below. Green in mysticism is always understood as eternal. The emerald is used as a symbol of eternity. That's what green is. So when you start taking your food as green, then you'll start living forever. When you take your thoughts green, which become gold and white, you'll live forever.
So the best thing about all of this is that there is direct knowledge that we have. So we have absolute truth, not apparent truth. So beware of the left-hand path Mayavadi false teachers who will teach you the counter-argument of all that we have been teaching. For instance, in Pythagorean and Neoplatonic philosophy, the only diet to ascend is veganism. The counter-argument is meat eating. You can eat as much meat as you like and you'll still ascend. Well, that's apparent truth. They're both truths. Both polarities are true. One is true for the materialist, the other is true for the spiritualist. So the materialist has been given a truth which will be truth for them in their current cycle, but it won't get them the absolute goal that they are looking for, because they're not looking for it. They're materialists. So the counter-argument to white tantra is black tantra. You'll see all these false teachers out there poncing around on their little soapboxes saying you can ejaculate your way to heaven and all is good. Well, that's true for them, because their heaven is not the heaven we are going to. Ours is unconditioned. Theirs is conditioned, where there are what's called demons, and it's called hell. So beware of the counter-arguments and beware of the false teachers. They're out there in their droves, and they've got followers in their droves because they like to have their ears tickled, because they like their teachers to teach them what suits them and what they think is true, which is apparent truth, not absolute truth. And so what's the difference? Well, if I grab an orange and I put it between me and the full moon? Well, the orange is going to be, if I stretch out my hand and just put the orange so that it covers the moon, I can say to a little child that the orange is bigger than the moon. And then I can do it to him and I'll say, look, see, there you go. Put the orange in front of his eyes and it will cover the moon. And apparently it's true because that's how it appears. But is it absolutely true? Well, no, it isn't. So all we're dealing here with is absolute truth. We don't want to be farting around with apparent truth and your truth and, oh, that's his truth. All of that is nonsense. You know, people buy into that, teach that, live that, believe that. What we need is direct knowledge and absolute truth. Direct knowledge, what is that? Well, if I go around saying, hey, to all my friends, hey, Charlie's car is red because he said it's red. And I trust Charlie is a great guy. He's never, ever told me a lie. He's honest. He's a decent man. But I didn't know that you were colorblind. Neither did you. So you're telling me that your car's red and I'm telling everybody and making myself an inadvertent liar, teaching second-hand truth because I didn't go to your garage, open the door and see that it was in fact blue. So I've made a fool of myself by teaching my truth and Charlie's truth. Oh, yes, but that's Charlie's truth. You know, he speaks the truth and it's his truth. And I'm telling you my truth. It's true for me. All of that's opinion. That's all BS. Remember, there is direct knowledge and there is absolute truth. And only those two will save you. You will know the truth and the truth will set you free. Free from what? Conditions. I don't want to be conditioned. I don't want to be eating and pooing for the rest of eternity. I don't like that. I don't like seeing what comes out of me in the toilet. I don't want to do that stuff, even though eating food is delicious and I eat the best of food. You know, I don't want to be in these conditions. I don't want to have sex like an animal where I feel so good and have an explosion orgasm and then down the wave I go from the crest to the trough, from the crest to the trough like a yo-yo, like you see all these people. One day they're happy. Next day you hear that they've committed suicide in the newspaper. You know, it's weird. But people it's like they don't even, they're not even real. You know, they pretend to be happy. They look really happy on Facebook, you know, got their latest pictures on there and they're eating and hanging out with friends. That's not happiness. Either you're in bliss mode or you're in pleasure mode, pleasure and pain. So the only way to get bliss is through correct action, which is white tantra, direct knowledge, and absolute truth. And that's what we're dealing with here. So it's very important to make the the clarification and distinction because many people will still have weak minds and they will still not grasp what's going on here, you know. And they'll say, oh, look at Santos, he's arrogant and he thinks it's true for him that this is such and whatever. No, I'm not teaching any of my opinions. I'm too stupid to, you know, I wouldn't want to do that to anyone. It would be hurtful. It would be deceitful as well, you know, to teach my opinions as truth or my truth. I'm teaching absolute truth. The orange is not bigger than the moon. Apparently it is, but not in reality. The truth of reality, as Thomas H. Burgoyne says, that there are two truths, and the foolish ones, like ships without rudders, who wreck themselves on crags just under the surface of the ocean and become shipwrecked, are people who don't know the difference between the two truths, the truth of appearances and the truth of reality. So thank goodness we have direct knowledge. Direct knowledge comes from knowing the true model of the atom, which is the torus field, and the hyperbola inside the torus field. Once you know that an atom is a torus field with a hyperbola in the middle, and you shorten the word Taurus to Tor and hyperbola to bull, the Taurus and the bull, red shift, blue shift. Tor is backwards for rot, which is in German red, and bull is blue shift. Right turning red shift, left turning blue shift. Once you know that energy is like this, and that is the model of all forms in the universe, and there is no other, and that is the Trinity of the atom, the Taurus, and the bull, and you have direct knowledge. You can go to the sine wave, as I teach in my presentations, and you can get your knowledge directly. It's direct. You won't be going around saying, oh, yes, Charlie's car's red, because you opened the door for yourself. You looked with your own eyes directly at the car and saw that, in fact, it was blue. Now you are a truther and not a second-hand parrot repeater of second-hand truth of others, which is not true. It's their truth, which is a lie. This is why when I was a Jehovah's Witness, they always said, oh, yes, brother, we are in the truth. Yes, you are. Because when you put that in front of the truth, you condition it. You limit it. Just as if I said, the air in this room, I'm not talking about universal air. If I were to say air has these qualities, etc., I'm talking about air universally. The moment I say the air, I'm now not talking about air anymore. I'm talking about the air in the fridge, the air in the house, the air in my lungs. It is conditioned. It has a definite article in front of it. That's why the Jehovah's Witnesses say we are in the truth. They'll never say we are in truth, because they're not. They are liars like all the rest. So, Charlie, I think that would be a good place to finish. But I really enjoyed that, as I always do with you. I say to people, the feedback we get from our shows is always great. And I say to people, that's because Charlie's a great interviewer. And they say, oh, yeah, that's true, and et cetera, but it's also the content. But it is true of the interviewer. It's most important that you have got someone on the same level. And it's very hard to find, brother. So I thank you for doing your studies. You are a real syncretist, and you practice what you preach. So hats off to you, and thank you. And look forward to the next one.
Thank you, my friend. And again, all of our love to you, because it is through your synthesized understandings of everyone else. We have found holes in what Samael Aunweor teaches, but there are no holes with what you teach, Santos. It is the way. It's the voice of the Creator through you, and that's the difference. And that's why you stand alone upon the mount, and you're not pontificating. You're sharing, and it's beautiful. And we thank you, and we love you, and have an amazing day. And I'll join you tonight for a little bit with Karen in London, England.
I really appreciate that, brother, and we'll catch you in about, I think it's about 4.5 hours, so see you then.
Okay, love you, my friend.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.